All right, it's now recording. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. I had some table adjustment thing going on here. Cool. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for participating in season 15. It's an incredible journey that we've had with all of us together. I think we have looked at, you know, we started off even with AutoML in the past, if you remember, uh, in late 2023 or early 2023, we did a lot of applications. Not Yes, we did do AI, we did do machine learning, we did do AutoML and other things, which seemed fascinating at that point. But every single season of ours, we try to keep it latest and greatest. Everything that's coming out of um, the latest in technology, the latest in the industry, everything that's coming out of something like a Cloud Next, which was very recent, April, and IO Connect, IO 2026, which was just a few days ago in May. So it's all pretty much latest and greatest being delivered to you and covered in all of our seasons. So that's exactly what we're going to do in the season as well. We are going to look at Agentic Data Cloud, some components of it, not all of Agentic Data Cloud, because it's pretty vast. And in 5 sessions, we have tried to cover every flavor of, not every flavor, but yeah, every essence of the journey of data in agents. However, it doesn't cover every single component, every single product or service or feature that is out there in Google Cloud's Agentic Data Cloud set of services. So just know that before we go into that. Although we would cover a good majority of BigQuery, the latest features that we're going to be talking about. We will do Alloy DB later in the season, that is tomorrow's session. And then we'll have some MCP Toolbox latest updates as well. We'll be talking about everything that's in the agentic journey, agent evaluations through building intelligent agents that can talk with your data directly in the database. So yes, you will be looking at all of these components. And yes, we will be, the whole thing is last season or the seasons before that, you have consistently or repeatedly asked for one thing, spend more time talking about the concepts and answering questions towards the end of the session, and also give you more time for discussing that in the chat. So we will be able to do all of that this time, and we don't have the hassle of having to redeem credits and everything during the session. So we'll just jump right into the session. The hands-on part will be limited to the features that you can do even without a billing account for you, but I will showcase everything in a hands-on way, step by step, that's there in the code lab. If you already have a billing account running and if you already have it going, you can continue all the steps that we are doing. But please know that you can, if you don't have a billing account, just create a Google Cloud project and get started right away. You will be able to do this. Not the whole lab, but the parts of the lab which are required for you to experience what we're talking about, the essence of it, but not every single step of it. Yeah, so that's one thing. And result submission, I'll just get the basics out of the way so that we can jump into the session soon. So result submission, why has it been made not important per se, but more rewarding this time? Because it's easy for you to get involved, and we would know all of these seasons. Also, we've had result submission process in the past, but we've always been like, result submission is like an afterthought. Once the session is over, some of you go back and try the whole lab one more time, or you do it at your own time and then submit results, which is also fine. But now it's not going to be that way. It's going to be very straightforward for you to be able to submit the results, but it's more rewarding in a way that you will have more opportunities. Like, let's say the top 25 or folks that come in those lists, um, the leaderboard probably make it to the events like IO Connect. That's going to happen in Bangalore. I mean, of course, it establishes that you will have to essentially be in the city where these events are happening, but we can get you into opportunities like that. Yeah, so definitely. And there is a lot more scope for learning and continuing to grow rather than just looking at one lab over and over again. Like later today, probably over the weekend, you're going to try it all over again from the scratch. To avoid all of that, it's kept very simple and straightforward this time. So it's being made simple and it's more rewarding. That's all I wanted to say about result submission. All right. So let's get started with today's session. It is, let me share my screen, turning dark data into structured gold. So what are we looking at here? Has this been around even before this AI or agentic AI period? Yes, we have had the service in BigQuery. We have had PDF to data conversion, PDF to structured data conversion, or creating relationships, generating that relation, inferring details. All those things have been there in the past as well. It used to be called, it used to have a different name. So it's not that it wasn't there before. The key difference here is that it's AI driven, it's more data driven, it's more intelligent. It has a semantic inference component to it, which generates the graph of relationships of the data that lives in your PDFs. So what is this PDF am I talking about? So that's what we're going to be looking at. um, PDFs are known to contain unstructured data, images, texts, tables, not videos, of course, but other components, right? It's PDF is not always text. There's so many components that PDF contains. It's the most it's no it's predominantly known for its unstructured and highly multimodal nature that a lot of organizations spend a lot of effort and cost in setting this up, this entire pipeline of converting unstructured data to structured tables, rows, and columns. And I even have even earlier this year or last year, having this discussion with customers talking about what is the best way, and they had a whole complicated pipeline set up. Now that's been made easy. How is that possible? Because with Knowledge Catalog, we now have, in addition to the name is changed to Knowledge Catalog too, that's one change. But besides that, there's one key thing, which is semantic inference. What is essentially happening? If you go to the documentation, also you can find in Knowledge Catalog, the most important part here is that it converts this into, let me highlight that part, context graph. So this is the most important part. Unlike conventional passive catalogs, which you will see in other data warehousing tools, or even in the past before this knowledge catalog name change had happened, this automatically curates the metadata of the files that you have, extracts business logic and relationships, and converts them into a unified context graph. So why is this context graph important? Because ultimately now everything is all about how well your data is structured, right? Because all of us, if you're here, you're probably a data geek. You're probably on the data engineering world or in the AI world. I mean, everyone is in the AI world in a way. But what I mean is extensively. Sorry, excuse me. I'm going to have to ask anyone who's not on mute to mute yourself if it's okay, because it's going to be slightly distracting. All right, thank you. So what I was going to um, highlight here is that we all knew, at least the people in the data world, or essentially in the databases area or data engineering area, relied heavily on how structured, or how not structured necessarily, but how contextual or relevant the data is to empower your agents, to empower your AI or applications that you generally build. So that is exactly what this context graph is going to solve. It enables or empowers your data to be contextually linked and relevant, so that your applications, which are predominantly agentic in nature these days, right? Everything, even the search, whether it's a search in your application, or whether it's the results that you're showing to the user, or whether it's an interaction that the user is having on your platform, whatever it is, it has to be contextually relevant. And that is what this graph is going to provide. So what are we going to build? So to make this practical, we're going to take a fictional business, a fast-growing frozen yogurt franchise. It's a Froyo demo. We're going to use that as a use case. So imagine that you manage the data for this Froyo business. So what exactly is happening? Even forget about Froyo, any retail company for that matter, or whether it's clothing brand or whatever, you have a lot of PDFs, a lot of spec sheets that collect information. Or let's say, even if it's a retail, like a fashion uh, warehouse or something, you will have PDF files to tell you what is the sizing guideline, what is the color guideline, what is the brand guideline, whatever it is. So many details, so many files and other things. Similarly for Froyo business, more. because it's food, it's all about ingredients, it's recipes, it's what are the underlying ingredients, so many connections, right? So you have recipe and supplier spec sheets, which is normal. If you go to walk into any restaurant or any big brand chain, you will know that they still have books. If you go to I don't want to name the brands right here, but you can walk into any store and ask them if it contains gluten or if it contains any allergen. And if they don't know the answer, they'll have to go to the spec sheet. Even if they know the answer, they sometimes have to defer it to the spec sheets, because not everything, if the ingredient list says it has ABC, if unless ABC is directly a type of food that the person knows, the person in the counter knows, they will not be able to say whether that contains the allergen or not. They'll have to go back and look at the manual of the company that is producing that ABC to see what other nested ingredients it has. So many things, right? So definitely this is one such area where there are a lot of spec sheets and PDFs that we need to consider in order for whether it's the business leaders who want to understand the success of a product, or it is store manager working towards customer queries. Right? So that's what we're going to build, store manager's guideline. But here in this session, we're not going to build the app or the agent. That's for down the line in the season. The next couple of sessions or so, you will get to build that. In today's session, our job is strictly to convert 400 PDF files, which are PDFs for recipes, PDFs for suppliers of these recipes. Right? So we have 400 PDFs altogether, and we're going to convert this into structured data, not just mechanical conversion. It is detailed, insightful inference, AI-driven and data-driven conversion that we're going to be looking at. So we do have all these PDFs in place. We have all the ingredients files and everything in place. So what are we going to be learning? Of course, you won't be doing all of these steps here. You'll probably come in step number 8, 7, 8, and 9. But for now, just know that we are going to be setting up the cloud storage bucket. We are going to be setting up BigQuery connection, and then we'll go through the steps. But beforehand, there is one step you will have to do hands-on. I'll just take you through that, which is creating Google Cloud project and just making sure your Cloud Shell is activated and you're able to see that, which is free. You don't have to have a billing account for that. So let's get started. If you go to the Code Lab step number 2, in step number 2, you have a Google Cloud Console hyperlink. Right click, copy that link, or just open that link in a new tab. And make sure, oh, sorry. Yeah, it's right here. Make sure you're able to see Google Cloud Console. It should be console.cloud.google.com. So I'm logging into a personal account. If you don't see, if this is the first time you're looking at Google Cloud, or the first time you're landing on this console and you don't have a project in place already, that is totally fine. Just click this project picker. There is a new project button in the select a project dialog box on the top right corner. Go ahead and click the new project if you want to create a new project. If you don't see any existing project. In my case, I already have an existing project. If you have an existing project that you want to continue to work on, please use that. Make sure that you don't, you're not using it with a project that is linked to a billing account that is for some other project of yours, which you don't want to incur any cost in. But whatever you're going to do hands-on today will not incur any cost. So you can be assured of that. But if you're a new Google Cloud project creator, click the new project button and you will see the new project page right here. Enter your project name, keep it simple, but also make sure there is some numeric value in the end so that it doesn't attach something on its own. So right here, it still does attach something on its own to the end. Anyway, let's say if this is my project name for today, or I'll just say Agent Data Cloud or something like that. 1, 2, 3, it doesn't add any extra numerical value to the end, so it's fine. Let's something like this, unique and billing account. Typically, you should be able to leave it free without choosing anything. And then since I have active billing accounts, it is showing this for me. If it doesn't show, that's totally fine. Leave it like that. Parent resource, leave it like that, and you don't have to change anything else. Just create a plain project without any active billing account. That should be okay. Should be able to create one by clicking the create button, and in a few seconds it should be created. Once you've created the project successfully, you should be able to see this page with your active project selected. On the top right corner, right next to the search bar, you'll see Gemini Cloud Assist, and right next to the, you'll see the activating Cloud Shell button. Click that and make sure your Cloud Shell is coming up activated with uh, a terminal for you to type your commands in. So just leave it at that, and we can jump to understanding the next few steps.
Ma'am, could you repeat from the starting once?
We'll have to keep up with the time as well, but this is for creating a project. If you're talking about just creating the project step, then I can just get through really quickly. Go to the code lab, go to step number 2 before you begin. In the create project section, you will see a Google Cloud Console hyperlink. Right click, open that in a new tab. It will take you to Google Cloud Console. It will ask you to select or create an existing project. Just do that. It is pretty self-explanatory. You don't have to, like, there is nothing much you have to do. Just put in a project name and click the create button. You should be good to go. Yes, the session recording will be shared. There is no need for any billing account. Are you? I hope you're all able to just show off thumbs. If you're able to hear me, okay. Okay, perfect. How many of you successfully created the project? Perfect. Sounds good. Just show of thumbs is fine. No need to raise your hand because it's just going to line you up. All right, perfect. Thank you so much for the confirmation. Now let's go back to the listening mode. You will get to go hands-on in a later step. I want you all to understand the concepts more and bring your questions and your use cases, thinking about how what you can do with this, like what are the use cases you would like to think about, not right now, but in the back of your mind, but towards the middle of the session or the end of the session, we'll have that discussion as well. Yeah. All right. So before you begin, we've already done that. We've created a project. No, someone asked if you will get credits, billing credits. No, you will not, because we don't. The part that you're going to try hands on is going to be very simple, and that does not require you to use a billing account. However, you'll be able to leverage your $30 free trial credits, which you have anyway. If you go to Google Cloud Console later, if you want to enable that, you can use that. It will require you putting in an instrument, which is your credit card. Even though it won't charge you, because you're just going to be using whatever you're going to be using for your project that you're building. But that has a basic bare minimum requirement, which you don't have to do for this session. You can just continue like we discussed without creating a billing account. But that's for your own time. If you want to leverage the free credits, use the $300 trial billing credits later on. All right. So we have activated Cloud Shell. And in your case, don't have to enable anything at this point. But even if you want, you can just these are some simple steps. We'll get to that. We'll get to implementing this shortly. But here, what we're doing is just making sure it's authenticated, making sure your project ID is selected in the Cloud Shell terminal, and making sure you're able to enable these services. These are services that can be enabled without having to use any billing account. This is just turning on the APIs. That's pretty much it. Next step, what I'm doing here is setting up cloud storage bucket. In preparation for this session, I just made sure that my cloud storage buckets are all set up. Let me just open that quickly. Yeah, right here. So I have a cloud storage bucket created. So how do I create that? The link to that is there in your code lab itself. Cloud go to it's in step number 3. the link to the repository is there, which is a hyperlinked word. So if you go to this repository, you will see there are two folders, recipes and suppliers. If you go into recipes, there are 200 files, and suppliers, there are 200 files. So let's just open a couple of these files. Midnight Swirl PDF. Yeah. So if you see, the ingredient list has midnight base 204 and also ginger gum, all these things. So if you ask me, I mean, I don't know most of the ingredients. That's a different thing. But at least the other things like Votic sunflower protein, guava powder, lecithin, these all look like direct ingredients. Whereas Midnight Base 204 or Neuromatrix 994, these don't sound like ingredients. These sound like products that are made with other ingredients, which feel like do have a supplier manual, which you need to look at. So you will have, let's just for the time being download this file and keep this for reference and go back and go to, if you go to suppliers folder, you will all have access to this repository. It's there in the code lab. Click this and you can see this repository and the files. So if I go to suppliers folder and I search for, again, Midnight 204, that particular ingredient, which seemed like a product in itself, and open that file, you will see that it'll have more ingredients in it. So why am I talking about this particular one in specific? Because we need to take an example of something that has data that is shared across multiple PDFs. So just to demonstrate that use case, I'm taking this one in particular. There's no other reason. It's taking some time to load the GitHub, so I'm just opening it in a new tab. I don't know what's going on. 1 second. Yeah, this one seems to have opened now. Let's see. There we go. So this is the suppliers folder. Here, do I have a, yeah, here if you see, I have a Midnight Base 204 manual. This is one of the ingredients that we saw, if you remember, in the Midnight Swirl PDF. So if you scroll down to the ingredients of this one, yeah, here you go. These have more ingredients on its own, and these are the allergen profile that they have listed separately. So we don't know, just by looking at Midnight Base 204 in that product, we not know that this has more ingredients. So let's just think of it from this abstraction point of view. Right now, when you're just looking at this one component or one PDF, which is the previous one which I had opened, you would not see anything there. So that is the catch here. So how will any algorithm or any application that you're building, or for that matter, even AI, nor even LLMs for that matter, will not be able to dive deep into all of your files and make this correlation and tell you that, hey, this file, for example, the one that you had the Midnight Swirl PDF on, sorry, Midnight Swirl Froyo on, that file contains something called Midnight Base 204, but Midnight Base 204 has so and so ingredients which you probably don't like or you're allergic to. So those are the kind of details even LLMs can't help you with. So that's exactly why we need an inference, semantic inference, or a knowledge catalog kind of purpose. Now, knowledge catalog is capable of a lot of things. This is just one example of how you can translate or transform your unstructured data into structured referential information. All right. So now we've seen what this repository contains. I'm taking all of these 400 files from both of these folders, and I'm creating a cloud storage bucket here. How did I create the cloud storage bucket? While you're in Google Cloud Console, in the search bar, if you type cloud storage, you'll be able to land on the page that we are in. Typically, it will just bring you straight up to the overview page. So what does the overview page look like? This is what the overview page looks like. And in the overview page, you will have any pinned buckets. I don't have any pinned buckets, so you don't see anything here. What I did here is just create a bucket, and then I gave it a name called Froyo_data, and I uploaded both the folders, recipes, and suppliers, each containing 200 files. Right, so that's something that I've already set up. What is the next step? This is done. Next step is creating BigQuery connection. So why do we need this? Now, BigQuery is where we are going to store our data warehouse data. So one question to you all. I keep hearing some sounds. I don't know if it is because someone's asking a question. Okay, I'll go slow. I have a question for you all. We all have used PDFs. We all have dealt with, if you're a working professional in organizations that use unstructured data from files and convert it or use it in their applications, what is the biggest challenge that you've faced? You can type in chat. Storage is one. What else? Size. Yes, we have submission today, Meghna. Finding specific information, extracting data, summarizing, volume, storage, digitizing, all correct answers. Context, that is the most important thing. Yes, context is the most important step. So yeah, all are great answers. Data cleaning, ingesting. Why is data cleaning, ingesting, and all that required? Because you need to use this information cleanly in your application. So if you're not using clean information, it is going to impact the inference that you are building. Because of course, we all know the kind of architectures, the kind of pipelines and other things that we are building and the data that we use. Up until early last year, we were heavily dependent on how we program, how we bring things together. But AI or BigQuery or intelligence for that matter don't require that level of detail. They are able to operate even in the, of course, clean data is gold, clean data is great. It will help understand the context more. But generative models and BigQuery and intelligent solutions that use those generative models are capable of operating in this area, even where there is a little bit of not ambiguity, I would say, but it doesn't require the same level of clarity or data cleanliness that we require as pipelines that we as humans build versus what the tool understands. While I say this, please put it on record. I'm not insisting that your data can be dirty or unclean. I still insist that the data clarity is required in order for you to contextually support your agents. However, what I'm trying to say is if we are using AI and in this feature, for example, you can still operate with not knowing so much about your PDFs. Even if your PDFs are completely of varied data structure or style or information that it contains, you can still allow Knowledge Catalog to do its job and identify the connection. So that's all you need to understand. And that's why we are creating this connection setup here. I'll tell you what it is about. But before that, I saw a commonly occurring question in chat that if billing account is not there, how will we do these steps? Right now, I'm not asking you to do anything. Just listen in, because these are all entirely new concepts. We are going to understand these. You will only have to do steps 7, 8, and 9. For those, we don't have billing accounts. We don't need billing accounts. I'm sorry. You can just do steps 8 and 9 without billing account. And that's what you need to submit in result today. It's going to be very simple for you at your end to execute that and submit the results. So it's simplified and made more rewarding, like I already mentioned. All right, so coming back to the context in hand, why is BigQuery connection needed? Now we need BigQuery to talk to three things. One is, of course, we need BigQuery to talk to cloud storage, because that's where we have all our PDFs. We need BigQuery to talk to what we used to call Vertex AI. Now it's called, what is it called? Can someone tell me? The name has changed. Ping me on chat. It's called Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform. Yes, thanks, Karan. So that's what it's called now. So we want BigQuery to talk to the remote models and foundational models and everything that's present in the Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform. We want BigQuery to also talk to, even if your data source is somewhere else, we need that, right? Like, let's say, for example, in this case, it's in cloud storage. But if it is big data, if it is coming in from another source, for example, a different cloud, for instance, so you will need to create this resource connection to whichever connection you're making at this point in order to make sure it is able to interact with the functions that we need it to. So in this lab, we have BigQuery talking to Knowledge Catalog. We have BigQuery talking to Gemini Enterprise Platform, Agent Platform, which used to be called Vertex AI. So we are creating this BigQuery connection. It's pretty straightforward. For that, what we're going to do is go to Google Cloud Console, type BigQuery. I have it readily open for you, but type BigQuery, you will get this product, click that product, You don't have to do it right now. I'll tell you when you have to do it. So once you go into the product, in the project explorer tab, you will see connections. So click connections. Let me open that for you. Where is it? Yeah, click connections, and you should be able to click create connection, and you can choose what connection type you want to choose. In my case, I want to choose Vertex AI remote models, remote functions, Lakehouse, and Spanner, because I want BigQuery to talk to, or Lakehouse and BigQuery to connect with each other, because that's we are going to be creating Lakehouse tables in BigQuery, because knowledge catalog will infer the data from your cloud storage and push it to BigQuery, because this is our warehouse, this is our knowledge repository. And then I'll choose a connection ID that works. In this case, I've already created the connection, BQ-connection. If you see, I have created this connection in US Central 1 region, and it automatically generates a service account ID the moment I create a connection. Why is the service account ID important? Because service account is how your services talk to each other, and it's basically for account permissions and other stuff, which is leading up to our next step, which is step 5 in the code lab. So currently, so far, what we have done, we have understood what is our use case, what we are going to do, what is the technology behind it. We have completed the before you begin step, which is just creating a project in this case, and opening the Cloud Shell terminal. We haven't done anything else hands-on. What I have demonstrated to you is the cloud storage bucket, where all of the 400 files are present, and BigQuery connection setup. I have told you that we need this connection setup so that knowledge catalog and BigQuery can talk to each other. So those 4 things are set up. Now, the moment you set up a BigQuery connection, it automatically generates a service account for that connection. And we take that service account, and we are going to provide it all these permissions listed in step number 5, which I have just created right before the session, ready for our session today. So how will I do this? It's all listed in the code lab. Go to IAM and admin page. I'll show you that. So I'm here in Google Cloud console. I'll click the navigation menu. I'll go to IAM and admin. This is just for you to watch. You don't have to do it right now. And once I'm in the identity and access management page, I'm going to click grant access, because this is the ultimate permission granting button. And I paste the service account that it just created. If you see, it's there in the code lab, or sorry, it's there in the BigQuery connection. So this is the BigQuery connection, right? So that will be my principal. And on top of that, I'll assign the roles that are listed in the code lab, which is storage object user. Why? Because the connection needs to talk to cloud storage bucket. BigQuery user, because the connection is a BigQuery user, it needs to be able to edit data, because the connection is going to be used in your knowledge catalog bucket, knowledge catalog job, right? So it needs to be able to handle BigQuery data. AI platform, because this is our agent, sorry, what is it? Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform. Yeah, so the LLM world. So that's why you need to give this permission, agent platform permission. You need to give it storage. I mean, this is enough. I just gave it storage admin. I don't know why. It's enough to give it object user and object viewer. Next is data proc service agent, because behind the scenes, the knowledge catalog that runs the semantic inference uses data proc job. So it's required. And then discovery publishing service agent. This is all pretty boilerplate. These things are necessary for knowledge catalog inference job to run. So all of these are listed. The listed permissions need to be given by selecting it one by one. If you go here and say Dataplex, you will be able to find the roles that we have defined here. You grant that one by one and save it. Next, what you have to do is you will have to go to IAM and admin page and add in a principal by typing the Dataplex into, just type Dataplex, the Dataplex's service account comes up. The moment you activate that API, you will have a Dataplex job also, sorry, Dataplex service account also created just like this. You don't have to do anything. Just by clicking that, you will be able to get the Dataplex service account. Select that service account, and you should be able to grant it the similar permissions that we gave you. Not same, it is slightly different. You don't have to do it right now, but just know that granting the permissions is critical, because you need to manage the level of permissions you're granting to any particular job or service, so that you're not you're in control of the security and the privacy of everything, the data that you're handling. All right, so Done. Now I have my PDF files that I need to process. I have provisioned the connection. I've enabled the connection and I've provisioned permissions for the connection and for the Dataplex service account user. All done. Now I'm going to do the knowledge catalog setup, which is primary for the next step, which is the semantic extraction. Now, there are two ways to set up knowledge catalog. You can either run a data scan job by running this in your Cloud Shell terminal. We are not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is show you how you can do its equivalent in Cloud Shell, in Cloud Console directly. So how do we do that? Remember, I told you to go to BigQuery, right? I mean, you, not you, when I said I went to BigQuery and I opened the navigation menu. In BigQuery, you have something called as metadata curation. Now, this is the ultimate feature that's part of BigQuery that allows you, or that performs curation of everything that's there in your in the source data that you want to curate, or the source data that you want to analyze. So go to metadata curation. If you're wondering where to find it, you will go to BigQuery. You will be able to find metadata curation right here in the governance module. Once you click metadata curation, it will open on the right-hand panel like this, as you can see in my screen. I already have 3 scan jobs created, but I'm going to show you how to create by creating the clicking the create button. Provide a scan name, say May 28, so and so. Yeah. Provision a scan name, and ID will be automatically generated based on what you enter here. Provide a description if you want. Bucket, this is where you select the bucket that you put all those 400 files in, right? So you'll select that. Region, make sure to keep it the same region as your BigQuery connection and other details that you select, and click run now. But before that, don't click run now straight away. The most important part, in order to make it, this is the newest feature in this whole process that we're discussing right now, which is enabling semantic inference. You need to make sure that this part is selected, because this is the one that will go through all the samples data, detect its schemas, and identify the relationships. It is, you don't have to worry about how the data is being used. Data is not going to be used by Gemini or anything for model training. It's purely for understanding the relationship between your data that's there in PDFs. That's it. Now, discovery frequency, this is something you need to select. Whether you want it to be on repeat or on demand, or it's a one-time run. If it's one-time run, you'll just run it once and the job ends. That's it. On demand, whenever you want, you can run it. So it is on his profile. Repeat is because, let's say you have a situation where you get one new file or one new product every month. So in that case, repeat would definitely help. Connection ID, remember the BigQuery connection resource that we selected. That's what you put in here. Select that from the drop down. Location, like I said, make sure to keep all your regions consistent. Destination, project ID. This is where your the project where you want the published data set to live. You'll put that project ID here. And finally, what else do we need? I guess that's pretty much it. So these are the details that you will provide. And once you do all these things, you click run now, or you can just save it as draft. You can run now to just test it once. All right. So in my case, I already have 3 pre-configured jobs, discovery scans. These are called data scan jobs. If I run it now, it'll take a few minutes. It won't take much. We can do it right now, but I don't want to run it right now because I've already successfully ran it, an existing one. So I'm going to open that. And if you see right here, the file scanned should exactly show the number of files that you have. If it is fewer than this, then it means something is wrong and it has not processed some of your files. All right. And the published data set. This is where it actually has published the result of the scan. So why is the scan important? Because this is the job which actually goes through the details that are there in your PDFs, not just for metadata, but also for semantic inference, because you check that checkbox. Without that checkbox, it won't enable semantic inference. It'll do bare minimum metadata inferencing, which is something pre-2026, I would say. Yeah. So published data set, this is a data set that is created right now because we didn't provide, you can actually provision a new data set if you want, or you can use existing data set. In this case, I just let it do its job. So it created a new data set. So now this is a data set in BigQuery. BigQuery, we call it data set similar to a database in any other database that you have. Right? In the BigQuery warehouse, we call a database as a data set. So there is a new data set created right now. So our job for creating this or setting up this knowledge catalog job is complete. The next step is actually to go there and extract information. But I want to pause right here and ask you if you understood so far what's going on. Show of thumbs, please. Show of thumbs. Do you understand why what we have done so far? So yeah, we didn't enable the service, Harshita. So that's why we didn't enable the. Oh, reactions are off. I'm so sorry. Let me just. Yeah, recording of the session will be available. Leads, can you just make sure the reactions are on so folks can actually send?
Yeah, done.
Thank you, Arko. Yeah. All right. So what I was trying to say is so far what we have done is since we want to convert unstructured data to structured information or PDF files to structured information, we have started from setting up cloud storage where our PDF files are located. We have our connection set up, BigQuery connection set up, and then we have our BigQuery connection generating a service account, and we provision permissions for a service account. And then we have our, if you have Dataplex enabled, you will also be able to see the Dataplex's service account, um, which will also require some permissions for your job to be completed. So go ahead and enable those. Provide the permissions. And once the permissions are provisioned, you will go to knowledge catalog setup. So for knowledge catalog setup, again, we need to set up the data scan job, which is also done from BigQuery's console. We went to BigQuery and we went to metadata curation, and we started off with setting it up through the console. Now, the same discovery scan job can also be done programmatically using APIs or through Cloud Shell commands, which is what is there in the code lab. But I have shown to you how you can do this just right from your console. So that's what we have selected. We have mentioned the discovery scan job and everything details here. And then once the job is complete, you should see the status as successful. Now, if you have selected the semantic inference right here, where is that? Yeah, this enable semantic inference is selected. It is doing the AI driven knowledge graph contextual connection between your files, the data that you have. If this is checked, sometimes if there might be inconsistent runs, it might be succeeded with errors. So you may have to go through a second run if required in order to go through the end-to-end successfully. But it's not always the case. It's not consistently an error. But if it is finished with errors, please go ahead and try to run it again if you don't understand what the error is. Typically, if it runs successfully, you don't have to worry. If it fails, you will see that information that something is wrong with either the inferencing the file or some other detail that will be mentioned in your error message. So just go ahead and run the job again. You would be able to get it to successfully infer the data. So now that the data is inferred and everything is selected, what do we do to test? You know that the published data set in the job is referencing the data set in BigQuery where the table is created or the lakehouse table is created. No table, I'm sorry, the data set is created. So now you can go to BigQuery and check if this table is in fact created, the data set is in fact created, or you can directly go to knowledge catalog and start our next step, which is there in the code lab in step number 7, semantic data extraction, which is what we are going to do right now. But before that, let me show to you in BigQuery what it looks like. So if you go to BigQuery and go to, what is the name of the data set we saw? 002, right? So if you see, my BigQuery has this data set that was shown in my metadata curation published data set field. So I see that right here. And if I expand that, I see a Froyo data table. If you click that data table, as you can see right here, it is an external table. It's an object table. So what does it mean? What does an external table or object table mean? It does not have anything much for you to infer from. It just has metadata. That's what it means. Now, this used to be the scenario before AI or LLM, before the next launch. What happens now is what you're going to do right now. Because if you run this query right now, you will not be able to understand much. You can try. You can do select star from, um, oh, let me just query from here. Why should I type? Just right click this table, go to query. And if I do select star and limit to 1000, you will see that if you see, it has the URI to your file, and it has information that you can't really do much with. This is all metadata. What will you do with this? Not much. You can write queries to interpret this information, but that's not what you need. You actually need a contextual relationship between this data, this information that you have. So that's what we are going to do in next step, which is step number 7 in the code lab. This is the actual data extraction part. So you have to go to knowledge catalog. If you go to step number 7 in the code lab, and if you can right click that hyperlinked phrase, knowledge catalog search, it will actually take you to knowledge catalog on Google Cloud Console, which used to be called as Dataplex in the past. It will ask you to enable API. Go ahead and enable that API. You don't have to do these steps right away. You won't have access to do this without a billing account. So we are not going to do this step in particular, but I'm just showing this to you right here. If you see this knowledge catalog, it will ask you to enable API. If it's the first time you're opening this, go ahead and enable that API. You won't see much here. You will only be able to see knowledge catalog overview page. That's it. But if you see in my screen, if you notice, we have this published data set, right? So I'm going to copy this published data set's name. I'll come back here, paste this data set and hit enter. Now I get all of these values, which is under this data set. Go to the one that says table. If you notice, Froyo data is the only table in the data set. So I'm going to click this table. All this is happening in knowledge catalog. So remember, I showed to you in BigQuery a metadata table. I'm opening that metadata table in knowledge catalog right now. So why am I opening this here? I'll show you in a bit. This is the part where we are going to actually extract insights. So go to insights. If you go to insights on this table, as you can see in my screen, you will see the semantic extraction AI tab. So this says that knowledge catalog detected existence of extractable entities and relationships. To query, you can extract them by deploying a pipeline or by running a SQL query, and you will see an extract button. If you click that extract button, you will see two options. If you're productionizing a solution, go for extract with pipeline. If you want to see what is exactly happening behind the scenes as a developer, you would want to learn using extract with SQL. So I'm going to click extract with SQL, provide a data set here. All right, so I'm going to you can create a new data set or you can use an existing data set. In my case, I already ran this in an existing data set. This one, yeah, it's open right here. What are my existing data sets? Let's select the same one. Yeah, so this is my data set. So I'll select that and I'll click extract. So the moment you do that, it will automatically take you to BigQuery with an open SQL editor page. Don't worry about this access denied. It opened in a different profile. That's why. Just see what it did. If you notice, the moment you selected extract with SQL and you selected an existing data set or a new data set, it automatically generated an entire SQL script for entities and relationships of everything it understood. This is the ultimate. This is the crux essence of what we are doing today. All right. So it generated the table, not just the table, the views, the relationships, everything that you need. And I already triggered this run on my profile right here. So I just ran this a few minutes ago before the session. As you can see, it is already open and the query completed and created multiple tables. Data materialized, food product. It should have created all these, whatever we need. Ingredients, recipes, allergen, whatever is it has inferred, it has created in May 28 data set, which I'm not going to use today. I'm just showing this to you. I just ran it. All right, so it has inferred everything and it has generated tables. Now, if you want to understand what the data exactly looks like, I'll take you to BigQuery and show you the data that has just been created. I'll go here, Agent Data Cloud. and go to, this is the one that you will be working on, the one that just got created right now. As you can see, all of these tables are just created based on the relationships on the files that you inserted. So this is the difference between just extracting metadata from your 400 files versus extracting meaningful tables and views and other relationships between them using knowledge catalogs semantic inference. So that's exactly what we have done today. Now, what we're going to do in the next step is something that you all can follow along. Go to step number 8 in the code lab. So far, show of thumbs, how many of you were able to successfully complete? Not complete, I mean understand what was going on. Show of thumbs, please. Well, I see that the reactions are still not available. So I wonder why. Yes, I will read the questions, a couple of them. It relies on semantic inference. What process? Yes, so you do have access to validate it physically manually. You can also use evaluators to make sure that everything is accurate um, based on the PDF files that you have for sure. Yes, the GitHub repository is there in your code lab itself. If you go to the code lab in step number, where is it? Step number 3, repository is there. Once again, step number 3 on the top, the words this repository is hyperlinked, but you will also find it again in step number 8 because we are going to be copying these files, not the files, but some tables, CSVs. All right, so now it's time for you all to get hands-on. What are we going to do? We are just going to extract the tables that are just generated in the uh, data scan job and also based on semantic inference. All you have to do is extract those CSV files, load it in your BigQuery tables, and you get a chance to see the data that is the dark data that is lost across multiple PDFs and how they are coming together. So your job is to validate that and see whether your data is in fact matching the files that you have. You have access to files. You can query the data and you can find out for yourself whether it's matching or not. This is how you actually test before you productionize the solution. That's why I said go through the extract with SQL approach. That's what developers do. But then when you do the extract with pipeline approach, that is when you're ready to productionize your solution. All right. So now SQL validation and schema creation. So this part we can all do along. I already showed this to you. The yellow part that's there in the bottom, the orange part or the yellow part, whatever it is, that color you call it. If you see, it says data readily made available, inferred through the above steps. And the PDFs are just linked again. Don't worry about it. What you can do is the GitHub repository for the CSV files are mentioned. I'll put this link in the meeting chat. Please open that. Please open that. The CSV files are there. Can we just download the files? Should be a way to bulk download. I'm so sorry. I don't think I enabled that here. It's okay. You can just go one by one and just download the CSV files right here. Download raw file. It will download your CSVs. So can you repeat that for all of the 8 files? You can just leave out the materialized 7 files apart from the data, pro your data materialized. If you want, you can download that as well. Just download the 8 files. I'll allow you a couple of minutes. So how do you do that? Open the GitHub repo, right click the CSV, or you can just directly, there's one Cloud Shell command which you can run, which will directly extract the PDF files from GitHub repo into it. You can use that to the GitHub command if you know. So what am I doing here? Once I download, I'll show that to you in a bit. Done. Cloud Shell, CSV files downloaded. So you need the GitHub command to download it in bulk. Let me give that to you 1 second. Should be there in the second code lab. I had it, I put it somewhere. One of these labs should have it. Where do I quick you to avoid it? No, not this one either. Yeah, this one. You can use this directly, but just change the file names. Yeah, just change the file names. Manually download it. If not, you can use this. You have to repeat the file name 8 times with wget command, but you have to run this in Cloud Shell terminal. The reason why I didn't give this beforehand is because you're not in Cloud Shell terminal yet. I haven't told you where to go, so that's why. You should be able to download. If you let me share that in my page. So if you download it manually, that's fine too. Let's just proceed. So how to download it manually? Go to GitHub repo, the repo link that was shared directly to the data folder. I'm sharing it again. Yeah, just download it locally. It doesn't have many, I mean, it does have many records, but it's fine. You can delete it later, right after this. So if it will open this here, right click and open one file. You should see, it won't say download the words. It will show this down arrow with a tray on in the bottom, download raw file. So that's how you download physically. Download the 8 files. Yeah, simple. Now, once those 8 files are downloaded, where's my code lab? Okay. What we have to do is we'll go to Cloud Shell terminal, create a new folder for this project. Yeah. And then what we are going to do is we are going to upload the data into BigQuery from CSV files that has already been inferred from my end. You're going to just copy over the data to your BigQuery data set. Why? So that you can query and find out the data connection and everything, just like you would test if you would done it at your end to end. All right. So go to step number 8 in the code lab. Scroll down to the orangish yellowish part. And once you're there, there'll be a title that says steps to continue to experience the data without the billing account. Point number 2, it says bqmk hyphen location. Copy that whole command, that one line command. Come back to your Google Cloud Console where you have Cloud Shell terminal open. As you can see in my screen, you should be seeing your project ID right here. If you don't see your project ID, go ahead and run gcloud. It's right there, right above it. You should see the command gcloud config set project and your project name. You have to run this to make sure it is showing your current active project. With or without a billing account, it doesn't matter. So it should say updated property, and you should see your project ID right next to your Cloud Shell prompt. Now paste this command that we copied from the code lab. What it does, it's basically BQMK, which means you're making a BQ dataset, BigQuery dataset. That's all this command does. It's creating this dataset in location US Central 1 because the rest of our assets are in this region. And my dataset's name is froyo underscore data. All right. It will say it already exists. So in my case, yeah, that's what it says. It says it already there. So let's, for instance, in my case, I'm just going to rename it, but you don't worry, you just proceed with the same command. All right. So in my case, it says the data set is successfully created. Great. Now, show of thumbs, how many of you were able to download the files, 8 files? and we're able to successfully. So the buffer overflow is just an error message. Scroll up on top, you'll see the real root cause of the issue. All right. So the next step is BQ load. We have created the data set. Now we need to load data, create tables and load data into that. So that's what the next 8 segments are about. So go ahead and copy segment number 1, which is BQ load. So and so copy that first into a text pad so that you know that there is no unwelcome character or anything there. All right. So let me explain what this thing does. It actually, interesting. Yeah. Allergen name is the only field in the CSV. The name of the CSV is froyo_data.allergen.csv. Your files, I hope, are named this way, froyodata.allergen.csv. If not, we'll be in trouble. So just make sure, let me see if the GitHub that I sent to you are all named accurately before I move on. 1 second. Where is the data? Right here. Okay. Yeah, the name of the file is fine. All right. So what you're going to do right here is you copy this BQ load. What it does is it's going to create a table of name allergen in the froyo_data set, and it's going to create a column called allergen name, and it'll take values from allergen CSV. So copy this command. You won't need to do this in the real world. You're doing it now, right? I mean, you can do this in the real world if you want to export data from files or other Parquet files or anything into BigQuery. But right now you're doing it because you didn't physically build the knowledge catalog. I already built it and made it available for you. That's why. Right. So now we are going to go back to the terminal where we already created the data set. Now, make sure if you want to go into a folder, you can, or you can run it from the root directory itself. Nothing is going to get created in your workspace. So don't worry. Just click enter. It is just going to create this table. In my case, okay, sorry, you downloaded the files, but you have not uploaded it anywhere, right? We'll have to do that. So what we're going to do right now is before running the BQ command, we need to upload the CSV files and import them into the Cloud Shell terminal. So how do we do that? Open editor. If you go in the Cloud Shell terminal, there is an open editor, open terminal button. You can toggle between terminal and editor by clicking that button. So click open editor. And once editor is open, you should be able to see your root directory. So go ahead and upload the 8 files by right clicking on the empty space in the root folder. Scroll down and you should see upload in the right click menu. Click upload and select the 8 files that you have just downloaded. So I'm going to do allergen consists of product, all the 8 files I've selected and I've uploaded into my Cloud Shell editor. If you want, you can see the data in the editor. Toggle to open terminal. Now go ahead and paste that command again, or just do up arrow and click enter. Now it should recognize. Why is it not recognizing it? Hold on. Is there any blank space or something? Make sure you're able to run this. Let's see, 1 second. Let me try it out in a doc so you can see more clearly in terms of space or anything. Mm, okay, let's try it. Before overflow, scroll up. What is the actual error? Oh, I already have this view in that particular data set. That's why I'll change the name of my data set. Remember, I created a new one. So I'll do that for you underscore data three. You don't have to do this. You should be just remove that. There is a line break in between each of those. So copy that, open it in a text editor or in Google Docs, and then remove the line break in between two commands, and then run it. All right, now it says upload complete. So if you notice, what didn't work for me was that once you copy this batch from Code Lab, it is actually introducing another line break in between the two, in between this value and the BQ load, the actual command. So we should not have any extra line break in between. So make sure you copy paste this into a text editor and remove those unnecessary line breaks. So repeat that for all 8 tables. That's what I'm doing. I actually have a Cloud Shell edit, sorry, what is this? Google Docs open on the side, where I'm actually removing these extra line breaks. Sorry about that. I didn't realize pasting it in Code Lab would introduce a new line break there. Now I copy this and go back to your terminal and hit enter. So it'll take about 2 minutes for the whole set of 8 tables to complete. Second one is also done. In my case, I'm going to go to the third table, go back there, paste it here. So remove these unnecessary line breaks again. Basically what it's doing, we'll see that shortly, even in your BigQuery. But right now, you just have to run these. If you're getting BigQuery not enabled error or something like that, it will give you a command to enable API. Just go ahead and do that. Did anyone get API not enabled issue? I hope not, because BigQuery would easily give you that, right? So how to upload files? If you go to Cloud Shell editor, you can toggle between editor and terminal by clicking this command button. And in the editor, in your root directory, click a blank space in the bottom and right click, scroll down, you would see the upload option. Select that and select all the 8 files. It will be uploaded. And then go to terminal, create the data set, and then start uploading, start creating these tables and entering data by running all the segments of this BQ load command from the code lab one by one. So I'm still working on it. Let me just finish it shortly. I still have 4 tables to go. 4 tables complete. Third last table. I'll make this ready while the other table is creating. It's done. Up. Second last table. While that is getting created, let me do the last table and then we'll get to the test. All right, the last table. Yeah, so the last table, there is an error in the code lab. It says froyo underscore data one dot supplier. Remove that one. When I was testing it multiple times. So I had to recreate data sets, sorry, create new data sets. So I kept on, instead of deleting existing data set, I kept on creating new. So I forgot to remove that one at the end of it. So please remove that data set, the one from that. If supplier table is not getting created for any of you, that is the reason. It has a, thank you, Prajwal, for sending that. So Meghna or others, whoever is facing buffer overflow, that's just the error tag. If you scroll up, you'll see the root cause of what went. No. The CSV is because we did unstructured data. Our unstructured PDFs are already converted into tables. Ideally, if you are running this this knowledge catalog, these tables by default will be created in your data set. You will not have to run the CSV. Our format is CSV because I made sure that I ran the knowledge catalog and made everything ready for you to pick up these CSVs and experience the data and test how this inference works at your end without you having to, because this is agentic data cloud, the semantic inference and all is going. I cannot show that with 4 files or 5 files. I need heavy data inference across multiple data sets, and that's why it's heavy on your part if you do all the inferencing and everything. Not by time, it because it's reading all the even cost wise BigQuery is not like knowledge catalog is not. I mean, you can read the documentation for price and other things, but I don't think we created billing accounts free trial credits this time to give out. You will need credit, at least a billing account, even if it is not going to charge you. You will need a billing account in order for you to try this out. Since we did not give you the billing account to get started with, we want to experience the whole hands-on without just diving into step after step. We wanted to understand dive deeper into the concepts. We got started in the design and the conceptual elements of it. We want to spend more time in that. And since you don't have a billing account to begin with, like trial billing account, you will not be able to do the knowledge catalog without creating at least a trial billing account. And that's why I'm making the data available for you in CSVs. In real world, when you are doing this, even in my case, the data was not in CSV. The moment I showed to you what the result of the knowledge catalog was, the result of the knowledge catalog was what you saw this in this tab. It just generates all the tables for you. It generates the views. It generates the relationships, references, everything. You just run this in one shot, and the tables and everything will be created. Or if you're doing a pipeline, it just gets scheduled and it runs on a schedule. If you have a recurring job or recurring incoming PDF or something. Otherwise, it is just an on-demand job that you run. So I've already run this and made the data available in BigQuery. But how will I give you access to that? I can't add all of you into the project, right? So I exported the data that I generated, the knowledge catalog job generated, so that you all can experience the data and essentially plan to use knowledge catalog wherever you have a production system with complicated pipelines for converting unstructured data to structured data. So that's exactly what we're dealing with. So now that my 8 tables are created, let's move on, chop chop, because we need to get to the most important part, which is the ultimate test. So go ahead and go to step number 9 in the code lab. If you have access denied or other things, try to understand what the real issue is. You get access denied for probably the last table. If I'm not wrong, it is probably because the data set froyo data 1 does not exist. It should be froyo underscore data. Remove the 1. There's a mistake in the code lab. If you notice in step number 8, the last line, the third last line, the supplier, in that supplier table BQ load, there is an additional 1. So that is why some of you might be getting access denied, because that data set does not exist. So remove that 1. You should be able to run this successfully. I hope that helps. All right. So now that we've completed, let's go to the ultimate test. So my user question. I want, let's say you have the agent and then you're actually selling Froyos. The user will want to ask questions like this. I'm really interested in Midnight's World Froyo. Are there any allergens in it? Because there may be people who are allergic to something or the other. So how would you ask this question? Behind the scenes, there is a store manager sitting and looking at Swirl Froyo's PDF, which we already looked at, which was not of so much use because if you look at Midnight Froyo, a Midnight Swirl Froyo, it just has all of these ingredients. Midnight base 204, we don't know what it is. Now you can't tell the user that it has gluten or it has soy, it has nuts, because none of those are listed here. So a plain LLM search would result in, hey, there's no allergen here, please go ahead and eat it. But the revealing thing here is if you go to Midnight base 204's manual, the PDF, you will find this in fact contains soy. So that is an allergen, which the user might want to know. So that is the inference that we're going to make right now. You can, again, this is just an example that I'm sticking to. I don't know why, but you can test with other data as well. Go ahead and copy the SQL from step number 9 and copy this, the select statement. I'll explain to you what this does. But before that, go to your BigQuery console. So how will you go to BigQuery console since you have not opened it so far? Right click on your Google Cloud logo, open a new tab. Let me open that one. So open a new tab, close the terminal if it tries to open it again. On the search bar of your Google Cloud console, type BigQuery. You should see BigQuery as the first product, data warehouse slash analytics. Click that. Once you click that, you would be able to see BigQuery Studio on the right. You will see an untitled query editor. If this is not showing up for you, if it is asking you to enable API, go ahead and enable the API. It is just a click of a button thing. The moment you enable API, you should be able to see what I'm seeing. Your new data set that you just created through Cloud Shell Terminal is appearing on the left-hand side. And if you expand that, you should see all the components of your BigQuery project. Scroll down and you should be able to see Froyo underscore data, which is the data set that you just created. And if you expand that data set, you should be able to see the 8 database components which you created. Now go ahead on the right hand side, you should see untitled query. Click that and paste the SQL that you copied from the code lab. What does this query do? It just joins the tables and views that were created as part of the big knowledge catalog inference, semantic inference process. It joins these multiple tables to identify whether a given Froyo has allergen or not. So in our case, the tables that were generated are product, ingredient, allergen, supplier, supplied by, consists of, contains allergen, and the allergen itself, which is a lookup table. So there are multiple tables. We don't have to go into everything and look at all the columns that are there, but if you want to, you can look at the CSV, the BQ commands that you ran. It has the column names and data types. If not, you can just query these tables. But now I'm going to run this, and running this would instantly result in Midnight Swirl containing the allergen named soy, which was difficult for us humanly because we did not know that the underlying PDF has more data. Now you can tell me, oh, that's not very difficult. I can write a Python application that nests or loops through all the incoming PDF files that are linked within one. How many will you do and how many will you keep track of, right? So there are so many details. Some may not be in the same structure. No two PDF files in this folded list of files that you have are of similar structure if you go through it. So just go ahead and try this on any other data if you like. I just took this one example so that we can consistently go through all the 5 labs of the season across building an agent. In the next session tomorrow, we'll take this BigQuery data, we'll federate it to a transactional database. So far, in the history of databases, you would have seen it the other way around. You would have federated transactional data into analytics data warehouses. But for the first time, you would be seeing data warehouse federating through a transactional database because we are in the world of agentic application building, and we want to have our agent to have all background information, even if it means it's coming from database, even for answering transactional questions. So now there is two-way federation possible, which we'll be looking at tomorrow. And the session 3 will be building an agent that supports all these things that we are looking at today and tomorrow. So you will be building a front-end application with MCP toolbox that talks to your transactional system and your analytical system. That is on day 3. And on day 4, we'll evaluate to see whether that agent is in fact returning mathematically accurate results. And in the next, when I say mathematics, it's not like it's testing the math of the agent. It's giving you a numeric, quantitatively validating your, evaluating your agent. That's what we're going to do. And finally, we'll build, that's the most sophisticated session of the season, according to me, because I enjoyed building that. We'll be able to chat with the data across different personas. Like, what if a developer is looking at it? What if the executive or the C-level officer of your organization is looking, of the business is looking at it to identify which product should I invest on in all the time, all the company's time on, and stuff like that. Or what if a store manager is trying to use that chat app for answering customer questions? So we'll be building different levels of chat layers, not the front end. We'll actually be building that with data. So these are the 5 sessions we're going to be covering in the season. One is already done today. So this is what you need to submit as a result today. What you're seeing in my screen right now, along with your project name showing in the top left corner. So this is what you need to submit: the query, the result, along with the project name showing in the project picker. Where will you submit? All that information was already sent to you. It is also there in the pinned message today. If you don't know that, it's go.gle/result hyphen validation. I'll send that link to you here as well. Yeah, all these tables and relationships were dynamically generated. I was mind blown too the first time I was using this. Uh, so what we essentially did so far is we took 400 PDFs. You can add, we can add 4,000. You can add how many ever you have. We can literally transform how we've been handling files. If you are working in retail, or you're working in food industry or edtech, you will know the pain of having documentation work to be handled and answering Q&A. I mean, maybe not for, log handling, because those are all digitized already. The digitization of all of these things are certain things that are more consumer centric in nature are the ones which will really benefit from this. I know personally so many customers in the past, even 6 months ago, when I didn't have a solution like this. I was recommending something else, still involved BigQuery, still involved all the great things we did today, but it did not include this one magical ingredient, which is a semantic data extraction. So go ahead and try this out in your organization or for your own projects, whatever it is you're trying to do. But for your learning journey, go ahead and submit the result so that you get to submit the result and participate in the in what's going to happen the rest of the season today, this season. If you won't be able to access cloud storage bucket without billing account, so don't try that. We didn't want you to do that for this lab. All you have to do is just download the CSVs and um, upload your upload your files into Cloud Shell Editor, and then access those files. Copy the CSV, as you can see right here. And convert those CSVs into your BQ tables and insert the data, and then test it out. So this is, we want you to experience the features rather than just mechanically following the step one by one. Of course, that will have its own value, but come on, at some point you will have to like try to understand and appreciate the essence of what you're going to build. And then whatever it is that you're building, you don't have to build the applications that we're showing, right? You have to experience the applications we are showing and go out there and build your own applications and use these features in your own applications. That's why I think this approach is much better. However, if you want to try this out, go ahead, and you will not be able to access knowledge catalog. You will not be able to access cloud storage. You will not be able to access data scan job without a billing account. So if you're not able to find these service accounts, it's because you don't have a paid billing account. That's why. Daya, does that answer your question? Okay. June 15th is the end date for submission of results, but you can go ahead and submit it right now because the steps that you needed to take to get to submission is very straightforward. The access denied was because for I think if this is the reason you got access denied, there is an error in the code lab in step number. Sorry, where is it? Code lab step number 9. Sorry, 8. Step number 8. There is a last BQ load command for the supplier table. There is an extra 1 in the name of the data set. Remove that. It's not froyo underscore data 1. It's just froyo underscore data dot. I accidentally put in an extra 1 because I was testing it on another data set as well. That's why. Apologies for that. So I'll take a few more questions. If anyone wants to stay, you can continue to. Um, Use all residing in one cloud region, pull the data across regions and multi-cloud providers. Great question, Mukta. Region, of course, you can do data replication across regions. I would appreciate you, sorry, I would encourage you to go read the multi-region, cross-region and other things. For that, that's a bare plain setup, boilerplate setup that you need to do while you're configuring your data set and everything around where your data needs to be stored. That's a different thing. However, you're also asking about multi-cloud provider, which is very interesting because recently what you're looking at is just data files that are stored in cloud storage, but you can go way beyond that. You can access Parquet files that are actually stored in not just Parquet, like the data files that you have in any format that is stored in other cloud providers, AWS or an Azure or something like that. There is again a standard data format that will be required, but if it is available in that format, you would be able to extract that information using Lakehouse, and you'd be able to bring that data into BigQuery and then handle the whole thing the way we did just right now, how we did it. So yes, that is possible. Any other questions, or if I'm scrolling very slow? Yeah, result should be in JPEG format, please. The Froyo bucket is there in the code lab. If you need the files for you to test it out end to end, if you have your own billing account and stuff, the link to Froyo underscore data, not the bucket, but the link to the GitHub repo containing the 400 files is there in the code lab. You will find it. Yes, June 15th is the last day for all submissions. The Discord channel is there. Leads, can you please paste the Discord channel link? Mahi, your question is interesting, but let me see if I get it. How does the system know whether two different looking PDFs are actually talking about the same thing? Powder, same ingredients or different ingredients or conflicting information. See, unless these two are ingredients of a product, these supplier manuals won't even be looked at, right? Suppose cocoa powder and dark cocoa mix. It depends on where this supplier or supplier product ingredient is used. If it is not used in that particular product, it won't be referenced at all. So yes, to a certain extent, your PDF files are guiding themselves. That's a different thing. So in this case, I don't think there's any conflict. But I do understand if there are such situation where there are two unrelated files, it's just a random mention of cocoa, then you would be surprised to find that the reference for those two will be made for the product that you're looking at. It will be inclusive of that information. I hope I answered your question, Mahi, but if not, just feel free to explain. Shehzad, similar lines, you have another question. How will semantic inference work if there are conflicting context details? What kind of conflict, Cesar? If Shehzad is there, if you want to explain the conflict, please let me know. Because see, whatever information is there, if AI is able to handle that conflict, if it's able to resolve that information that is available across multiple data sources, it will definitely try to do that. Unless something is completely insignificant, it won't make assumptions. So that is the bare minimum. But of course, we can't just say the table is there, the data is there, I'm going to use it directly. I can plug this data into my agent. No, that's why we are going through the testing process. That's why the ultimate test is going on, and that's why we are looking at whether everything is valid. This applies to even um, pipelines that we create humanly, right? If even if I go ahead and create the whole pipeline manually to do this, we still have to do a test of whether the integration is successful, whether the information that is showing is in fact matching the documents that are there. So yes, we will have to definitely test, but otherwise for the if you're asking about whether the conflict will be resolved, whether there will be like information that's this misleading or this incorrect information, that's something that evaluation can definitely tell you. But I haven't seen any. I have done so many tests because I was so fascinated by this. The moment I think a part of my demonstration in Cloud Next 2026 involved this largely. Not just this, but a multi-database. But then I worked on this for the main keynote. So I was fascinated by this. So I did a thorough testing of varied kinds of files and different kinds of data, and I didn't find anything that was misleading at all. But again, it's a very close. It's not a production environment where anything can happen, right? So I can't say it's 100% accurate, but the tests that I have done has been 100% accurate, coincidentally. So I would say that. If you want to see the score, you can go to dashboard, Rishiraj. It is LLM, Sasindra. That is accurate. That's why I said Gemini. You remember we enable that connection between BigQuery and other services. It is in fact talking to Gemini Enterprise Agentic Platform, and yes, ultimately it needs intelligence from Gemini to make that, and we that's why you're not able to try that out at your end because it requires your billing account. So yeah, it has LLM behind the scenes. Gemini, to be clear. You, Kaushik, if you're trying to you need a billing account in order for you to proceed with this. So if you had a billing account and you still have service agent role permissions issue, I would wonder which service account encountered this error for you. There are two service accounts that are listed in the code lab. One is the service account of the BigQuery connection. Another one is the service account of your Dataplex. The moment you enable Dataplex, it would naturally get a service account. So those two should be enabled. Yes, recording will be shared. Mahi, I have tried it with other PDFs. These PDFs are curated for the demo, not this demo, other demos, but you can try with other PDFs too that are completely, the PDFs are not curated to be semantically aligned. I mean, yeah, they were because we want to talk about the story, right? Why would I put in an edtech PDF and then talk about Froyo on the other hand? I won't want to do that, right? That's not how a business operates. If your business is running with that kind of information, then you're probably doing something wrong. What I would say is the PDFs right here are not curated to have information aligned. It is curated to have information aligned to a certain extent from the perspective of the industry and the product, but not if you look at all the PDFs or the PDFs of the supplier and other things, these are actually information that is scattered across multiple PDFs. It is aligned in a way that it demonstrates the purpose of this. Which means that PDFs are purposely scattered. The information is scattered across PDFs. If you're saying that, then yes. But if you ask me whether this will not work on a PDF, I would say strictly will work on other PDFs. You can try this out, but the information has to be related to a certain extent. Like you have to be talking about the same industry or the same products or something relevant. Even otherwise, it will create tables that are disjoint. That's all. It won't fail. All right. So, any other leads? Is there any other key pressing question? That is one from Gayatri. In the knowledge catalog, does Google leverage multimodal vector embeddings to enable semantic search? Text metadata first and then mapping back to the graph. Great question. So there is a documentation which I want to share. I want you to go through that because that is the most important part of how the hows, not the whys and the hows behind what we just discussed. Gayatri, you might be interested in that. I've sent that link. It actually converts our data in the data into unified context graph, and it does require embeddings behind the scenes. It does require multimodal vectors and everything, semantic search and everything. But you, as a user, will not be experiencing all that. That is the job of the data scan, the metadata inference that's going on behind the scenes. Not metadata inference, semantic inference that's going on behind the scenes. So a whole another algorithm is there for semantic search and everything that's going on behind the scenes. All you're doing is just checking that box to activate it. I hope that helps. Agentic RAG. This is agentic RAG. This is grounding the context of your business. The only thing is you're doing it more efficiently now and much cheaper. I would say when the reason I'm saying cheaper is because this would have required 3 months worth of effort in building the architecture end to end. I'm saying 3 months, meaning it 3 months is like the least. If someone is doing everything right and everything is ready, then it'll from that point on to getting the architecture approved end to end and getting something like this in production running would take at least 3 months. At least like 6 months ago. So yes, from that point, it is a lot cheaper and a lot simpler, sophisticated too, in bringing this graph data contextual relevance to your unstructured media data into structured tables. But if you ask me what is different from agentic RAG, I would say this is agentic RAG. It's just that how you're ingesting the data, so data from different sources into your structured data is um, the part that is groundbreaking. The recording will be shared to you tomorrow in the morning, and also it will be shared in the Code Vipassana site along with other session details. Semantic knowledge generate feature BigQuery offer any kind of traceability to validate the generated data. Good question though. Yes, you do have some logs, you do have some files generated. So if you're trying this at your end, in the cloud storage bucket, it also generates some files that trace back your metadata and the relationships to your actual. But one thing which I forgot to show you, or rather I didn't forget, but it wasn't I didn't plan the time in for it. If you scroll down, you can see what happened with your what is with the data profiling. This is all in the knowledge catalog page. You would be able to see the data profiling, the lineage, where it came from, what is the graph, how is the relationship going on between the different files that you have, between not the files, between the different components and the objects that you have in your files, and the insights, both qualitative insights and graph driven insights. Everything is written right here. Where is it coming from? Everything, the entire lineage is there in your if you remember, we went to knowledge catalog and we searched for the data set that just got created, and the metadata table. We clicked the metadata table and it landed right here. This is where we went ahead and created the extract SQL, remember? So this exactly shows the lineage of where it's all coming from. I hope that helps. All right. Um, I think we've answered all of the contextual questions. Karan, we'll talk about unified context graph more in detail, but for starters, go through the doc. Unified context graph is how most of RAG and most of inferences happen in data behind the things that you don't see. The connections between data, the connecting the dots happen in the unified graph format uh, before it reaches your response, before it reaches you as a user. I'm just saying, I don't think there were any limitations as such that were mentioned for it depends on the number of the size on the file that you have. It depends. I think it will delay your not delay. It will increase the time it takes for your semantic data scan job to complete. That's pretty much it. Like, how can you say your PDF has to be this size, this of this much size alone? Because you can't limit it that way. But go through the data scan job and see if it has any limitation. So far, I've not seen any limitation on that. If you need to run the data scan job through curl, you need to have all the um, other APIs and other things enabled. You can't directly do that equally. You have to go through all the steps in the code lab. Only then you'd be able to run this particular line. Because if your semantic API or whatever that API is, Gemini Connect or something, that API needs to be enabled. Sorry, I forget the name of the API. All of those need to be enabled for you to enable semantic inference. You can't directly run that particular command, curl command, which is also there, which is all there in the code lab. So if you follow the code lab end to end from step one, then you'd be able to run the job. No, you don't need to run remove entity interface enable. You have to. You can do it from console if it prevents you from running it. If it says it's not if it's not accepting this, and any go through the cloud console way of. That's how I showed you. Remember, that's how I demonstrated this feature for you. I went through the console approach and it was able to successfully generate it. The result submission link should not lead to Google search. Sorry, what link are you on? Did I give any wrong link? It's go.gle slash result validation. Did I say result submission? Probably my bad. Try this. This should take you to the result submission. Yeah. It's there, Srija. If you select that season, choose the event correctly. There might be more events, and choose the session correctly, session one, and you will see what you need to submit. I already explained. It has to be the step 7, the last screenshot of step 7, but it has to show your project ID, just like you saw in my BigQuery right here. Not this one, sorry. This one right here. It has to be the screenshot of this along with your project IDs, project name showing on the project picker. All right, folks, we are at time, and I mean, we are way past time. So thank you so much for staying back, asking these questions. I hope this format is helpful in understanding the concepts better rather than just chasing the steps one after the other. I enjoyed that one too, don't get me wrong. It's just that times are changing, we need to change with them. Why would you want to build the app end to end when you can actually learn and understand the concepts and go build something that you want to build? So that is what I'm thinking about right now. So I encourage you all to try out these things in your own projects. Now there is anti-gravity IDE, which we will build with in the last session of the season, which is on 3rd June, I think. We will build with anti-gravity IDE as well. That part you can do hands-on even without a building account. So we will be building, you will also be building with that. So on that day, I'm going to ask you to build an app that you want to build and the way you want to interact with Agentic Data Cloud kit, the data cloud, the data agent kit. Sorry, I am just, it's late in the night. I think I'm jumbling the words, but it's the agent data cloud kit that you can add in your anti-gravity IDE. and you can make your applications interact with all of these things that Agent Data Cloud supports. So you'll get to build your own app at that point. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, and appreciate you all for staying so late in the night, and those who are joining from other time zones too. Thank you and really appreciate it. Submit the results. I encourage you all to do that. Since you're all not activating any billing credits, this is the only way for me to know that you've actually gone ahead and experienced the data and experienced the features at your end to whatever is possible. All right. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Bye.